It's official, cancel your plans because the great Australian dream of owning a property in New South Wales just became available. In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly what's transpired with the New South Wales stamp duty being abolished. If you are interested, definitely keep watching. Hey guys, my name's Ravi and welcome back to Personal Finance with Ravi Sharma. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button because I talk about real estate, cryptocurrency, and financial freedom. Occasionally, I'll tell you about how the government is so obsessed with housing here in this country that they're gonna go and move mountains to make the property market go to the moon. Now this is massive news and it does affect anyone that has property, is thinking about buying property, or even currently rents in New South Wales. Why? Well, I'm about to tell you, but you already knew that. That's why you're here. Let's continue. Premier Dominic Perrottet believes the changes will make the great Australian dream of home ownership much easier for a generation of young families. It sounds so loving. It's almost like they're looking out for us. Yeah. So this change has been on the cards for over 6 months. They've been really talking about how do we get rid of stamp duty? It's unnecessary, but instead we're going to replace it with a yearly tax. Now in a video here that you can check out from a few months ago, I actually broke this down when it was just something they thought about. When it was like, hey, maybe we could think about getting rid of stamp duty and we'll replace it with a yearly tax. I actually go ahead and break down what that means for you and who actually turns out to benefit from this. So you should definitely go check that one out. But here we've got the updated information. It's now official. Analysis by the New South Wales Treasury submitted to Parliament earlier this month revealed that 2/3 of first home buyers will opt against paying stamp duty, with further research indicating that up to 80% of home sales could benefit from this scheme. And this scheme is effectively saying out with stamp duty, which is roughly about 5% of your purchase price. And instead, we're going to replace that with a yearly tax in line with how much your property is worth, or at least the land value is worth. Now, the whole intention behind this is that, well, with property prices going up so quickly, the government is stepping in and saying, well, it's too hard to keep saving enough of a deposit. And you might be in this situation where you're like, okay, I need to buy a property and I need just an extra $10,000 to get to that threshold. Once you save the $10,000, the price continues higher. And it's just this constant cat and mouse game where you're trying to catch up with the property prices that continue moving up. Now here in Sydney, we're seeing some sort of relief in the form of a correction. The prices haven't been going up as crazy as they have for the last few years, but how long will that last? I don't think it's gonna last that long, to be honest. Now, instead of having to save up that extra 5% on top of your deposit, now it's scrapped. And instead you can just pay a yearly tax just along with all of your ongoing expenses. Now there's a couple of issues with this, and I'm going to share with you my thoughts in a second. But let's talk about when the scheme is available and how it actually applies to us, because you can take advantage of it today. First home buyers will be available to access the scheme from Saturday, 12th of November. However, these buyers will be required to pay stamp duty on purchase made until 15th January 2023. From that point, they will be able to apply for a refund of their stamp duty should they choose to opt into the scheme. From 16th of Jan 2023, the eligible buyers will not have to go do that. They will have the option to directly opt in for the annual fee without being required to fork out the actual stamp duty. So you can purchase property today and then you pay the stamp duty, but you'll get it refunded basically in January, or you can just wait till the 16th of Jan and you can opt in straight from the beginning, which means you can actually go and purchase and not have to save that stamp duty amount. So let's break down what this actually means. Firstly, if you're getting rid of stamp duty, it's fantastic for first home buyers. If you're looking at a purchase price of $500,000, you're probably paying about $25,000 in stamp duty. Such a useless tax, but the government loves it. Now, instead, you could go ahead and pay maybe $1,000 extra every single year. But that's going to add up, especially if you're looking at purchasing a property that you might look to hold for at least the next 15, 20, 30 years. And this is where it starts falling apart, is that if you go ahead and take out that stamp duty, it's not just that you and I are watching this and everyone's a first home buyer. It's people with properties that are potentially looking to sell. There's vendors, there's real estate agents, and they're all having the same information presented to them at the exact same time. So let's take, for example, a sales agent actually has a property or a vendor that's looking to sell. They're going to say, well, you know what? Now that stamp duty is getting scrapped, instead of actually listing it at 500, we can go ahead and list it at maybe 520. That would then be able to absorb the extra 5% that they would roughly have to pay for stamp duty. And yes, maybe instead of actually selling at 520, they're going to end up selling it for 515, but that might be still higher than what they initially had listed it for or thought they were going to sell it for. So what we could see is that this immediate benefit might just get absorbed straight into the property prices. And therefore we start start seeing them move back up because on paper, it's going to look like these properties are more desirable and suddenly we have more demand. The second part to this is contrary to what most people think, which is if people are able to buy homes for themselves, that's fantastic. And I agree, it is fantastic. However, the flip side is for renters. We're in the middle of a rental crisis, and having something like this come up means that maybe someone's willing to go and pay above and beyond to move to one of these regional locations or locations in New South Wales where they can actually afford a property, and now they're going to go and purchase it for themselves. That means one less rental dwelling that's available on the market. Now, if you look at this logically, take a step back and see if we've got a limited rental supply and then you start having extra demand trying to buy some of these rental properties to then convert it into their own property, that means less supply of rental dwellings. This then would cascade into higher rents for people. Now, a clear example of where we saw real estate agents as well as vendors go in and actually absorb all the benefit was with the first home builder package that got announced in 2021. Effectively, it allowed people to get a grant of up to $25,000 if you were building a new home or you were going to do extensive renovations. So if you were going ahead and actually going to purchase a new home, we literally had listings that got changed overnight, and it was so quick that they changed the listed price, but they didn't actually change the price in the description. And what they did was they literally added $25,000 and people were happy to pay it because suddenly they were getting $25,000 from the government. They felt like they were saving, but the reality is they were still just paying the exact same price. Now, I'm hopeful that vendors and real estate agents don't go ahead and do this sort of thing, but the reality is it's probably going to happen. When money's involved, people will do anything. And when it comes to ethics and real estate agents,
well, it's very questionable, isn't it?
Now, if you're looking at taking advantage of this and really maximizing what you could do with it, you could purchase a property, actually go ahead and then not have to pay stamp duty and opt in for, say, the property tax. If you go ahead and do that, then instead of having to fork out the $25,000 on a property worth $500K, you could effectively be paying $1,000 or $2,000 a year. But if your intention is that you actually don't think this is your forever home and you also don't think this is a good investment, you might decide, hey, I don't actually have the intention to rent this out to anybody, so I'm going to purchase this place, live in here for maybe 3 or 4 years, and then be able to go and flip it or sell it to someone and then continue building my investment portfolio or upgrade to a different property. In that case, what you're able to do is actually have massive savings because the stamp duty is avoided. And if you're going to pay for the next maybe 3 or 4 years, depending on the rate that you have to pay, you'll be paying significantly less than the one-off stamp duty. And given that it's your own property, you won't have to pay capital gains tax. But again, I'm definitely not a professional at tax and I don't give you financial advice. So you should definitely go seek out that help and they'll be able to point you in the right direction, especially when it comes to schemes as a first home buyer. At this point, it's probably silly to say that prices will go up because we're in the period of peak fear and there's one guy coming out on YouTube that comes out and says, well, I'm going to call a spade, and based on supply and demand, we're probably going to see prices a lot higher in 12 months time, but it's not the most popular school of thought, and that's why I get smashed with the negative comments. But I think at this point, it might be fairly obvious that we're getting to the point where at the rate at which prices are falling have significantly slowed down in October, and now we're starting to see possibly the bottom of this market, especially now that we're starting to see the RBA taper off those interest rate hikes. If you're interested in my breakdown of where I think rates will be, you should definitely go check out my interest rate predictions, as well as when I think rates will start cutting in 2023. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with someone that you think can get benefit out of something like this. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks, guys.